All right, welcome back. I don't know what happened there. My recording thing went off, but again, part two of this recording is actually going to be my 26th episode. The first part I did was my 25th episode, so I'm proud of myself and me and my pop for just sticking through this and trying to get better and grow. And the plan eventually is to have to go, and we're going to go to video at some point. So once we get our equipment and everything set up, get the cave looking right, we plan to go video. Obviously, some of these videos will still be audio, just from the fact of, me being, at work driving and trying to, take care of my business there. But yeah, that's the plan eventually. But anyway, back to what I was saying in the earlier video about North Carolina. It's it's going to be rough for them, Mac Brown. But their season is definitely over. So I hope things work out for them. Miami and USF, pretty good win for Miami. Their defense struggled early against a USF defense or USF offense that has done really well. You saw Alabama struggle with it for the most part. But much like in that game, eventually Miami showed they were better, more skilled, much more speed offensively and defensively, and they just kind of ran them over in the second half of that game. They just weren't able to score any more points after the first half was done. So, that's never good, but that was kind of what happened in that game. So Miami takes care of business, and they run over effectively USF after that first half slog that they were in as well. So congratulations to Miami. They got a Friday night game coming up against Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech doesn't look to be very good. They're at home, but again, the one thing we've seen Miami do time and time again is when it comes to these big games, they perform well, but at home against a team they should take care of business is where we've seen them falter. So I'm curious to see this coaching staff, Mario Cristobal and his guys, how do they handle this game? Because we're going to find out if this team's real by Friday night. And how they handle the game against a team they should take care of business against. So, great win for Miami, great win for them. So I'm happy that they look like, at least for now, that they are back and they are. It's not the same old Miami, but Friday we'll know for sure whether this team is real or not. So great win for them. Other games, trying to cipher through. Oh, of course, Colorado and Baylor, a wild overtime game. Travis Hunter is the Heisman frontrunner to me. He's one of the best players in the world right now. He, of course, makes the play to win the game and essentially causing the Baylor back to fumble right at the 1 yard line and essentially ends in a touchback. And Baylor wins after a wild Hail Mary at the end of the game. And I believe it was Wester who caught that. A nice rollout. Got away from the pressure, or the would-be pressure of the defenders. He rolls out to the least pressurized side and launches a bomb that Wester's able to slide and catch in the end zone. What a wild scene. And then in overtime, of course, they get in the end zone, and then their defense, again, Travis Hunter, of course, that's a Heisman moment play. And I hope they replay that and talk about that all week, because that's that'll be his Heisman moment so far early into the season if he's able to win it. That punch out to essentially pretty much put the game away and give them a much needed victory. So again, 3-1 Colorado. I have studied and stayed fast in believing in what their defense has done. Now again, they allowed some points, later in the game and allowed some big plays, but overall their defense has really played well, I thought. That's just how I feel. I think their defense played better. They played a lot sounder. They've gotten off the field in certain situations. It's just their offense that has been really up and down, and mostly because of the offensive line, but also Shedeur Sanders putting himself in positions to not be as successful and effective when he's not getting out of the way, stepping up in the pocket, moving his feet better, and that's something he's going to have to work on, because he really, to me, is not that good at that. He just hasn't been good at that. So I need to see him, extend plays and be a little better, because thus far he hasn't shown the ability to do that. But great win for Colorado. And again, now they probably won't be ranked for a while until they get a big ranked win. And they're going to have that opportunity because they're going to have Oklahoma State and Utah and all these other teams. So we'll find out, again, if they can find themselves. But 3-1 through 4 games, I believe they were, 3-1, I believe, last year, and then they went on that slide. So same thing as last year, building momentum after their first 4 games. Now can they take care of business? And can they beat these Big 12 teams that are going to be a challenge for Colorado? We'll find out as the season continues to progress, but great win, beating a Baylor team that looks really good offensively and defensively. So we'll see how they progress during the season, but they have random. But great win against a legit Power 4 Baylor team. So you just, a lot of people have to give their credit where credit is due. Because if they'd have lost this game, people would have went nuts and saying, oh, they can't do this and that. But at the end of the day, they won the game that they're supposed to win, or that people didn't think they could win. So congratulations to Colorado. Trying to scroll through and find other games, other big games at least. Everybody else, Ohio State took care of business. It was a little slow early, but they eventually ran over Marshall. Ohio State's got a big test on the road at Michigan State Saturday night, so we'll find out actually what they're made of, at least in some sense, even though Michigan State lost on the road to Boston College this weekend in the red bandana game, which was pretty awesome. Sloppy game, as you expect in a Boston College game. It was a weird game to have Michigan State on the road to Boston College. It's one of those games that it's just a weird thing to look at, but as far as the scheduling wise. But again, Boston College holds on, last second victory, throws and then gets the pick in the end zone. So again, Thomas Castellanos, Bill O'Brien has these guys playing well, offensively and defensively, so they're going to be in this. They're going to be in this for a while. That Missouri win, a loss, didn't, a game that they were up early. But again, this is a team to be reckoned with for the rest of the season. And I think a lot of teams are going to have problems with them because they play sound, really pro-style type offense and defense. Next, you got Vanderbilt, really a game they should have put away. They miss a field goal in overtime, and that pretty much seals it. I mean, a game that they had in their hands. Missouri would have been devastated because their schedule, as people keep saying, is light. And we'll find out how true that is because they still do have to go to Alabama. So we'll see how light that schedule really is. But at the end of the day, Vanderbilt, we don't know how good they are. We assume they're good, but they always start out this good, and then eventually they slide down the hill. But this is a game you've got to find a way to win. And they had it there for the taking, and they just could not, with that offense or defense, get it done. So for the last 2 weeks for Missouri at home, you play a close game that you could have lost against Boston College and a game against Vanderbilt that you could have lost. So very concerning at home because they've been at home all season. So when they finally have to go on the road, especially to a team like Alabama, we're going to find out a lot about the team. And because, again, they have just looked fine. It's not like they played bad. It's just they've played close games at home that you think. Now, again, these are two very good teams, I believe, at least for now. But, you're a top 7 team in the country. You would think they would pull away from a team like Vanderbilt and Boston College later in the game, and they just couldn't do it. And their offense is mostly to blame for that. Their defense has been fine for the most part, but offensively they just seem like they can't run, and they're not able to complete passes that they otherwise have done the last couple of years. So he's going to have to get into the ear of this football team and say, listen, don't look at the fact that we're a 7th and 8th, or now I think now a 10th ranked team. Go out there and just play sound football, and I think that is going to be the message for his guys going in. And just saying, listen, guys, you got to relax. You got to win the games that we're supposed to win and win them handily. Now, the fact they win the games is all you really care about at the end of the day because it's a win. But, again, you go to Alabama and play and mess around with those guys in Tuscaloosa, and you're going to find yourself in a position that you don't want to be in. So, Do they have the talent offensively and defensively to win a game like that in Tuscaloosa? Yeah, sure. But can they actually pull it off based on what I've seen so far? No, I wouldn't say that. So we'll find out what they're made of coming up. But no, not a very good indictment, if you will, for Eli Drinkwitz's team. Um, Pretty much other than that, like I said, a lot of other teams took care of business. Teams like Texas and Ole Miss, nothing really to talk about. They took care of business. They got big tests, SEC tests, home SEC tests coming up. So we'll find out a little more about Arch Manning. I'm not even going to talk about him too much because, again, ULM and UTSA is not a good litmus test. Mississippi State isn't either, but they still are an SEC team with SEC talent. So we'll find out more about him next week if he is, in fact, continuing to start. Same thing for Ole Miss. They've got Kentucky coming up. This is the best defense they've played all year and a team with an actual pulse that they've played all year. So we're going to find out about Ole Miss as well. Again, both these games at home, the two top 6 teams, SEC opponents finally. We're going to find out, more about this team and more about both those teams and how they play. Oregon was by. Alabama and Georgia are by. They're getting set for their big matchup on Saturday. So one of those teams will come out with a loss, and we'll be talking about what they need to do differently and whatnot. But for the most part, again, great weekend, great summary of games. Michigan and USC, another classic game. What a game. It felt like a classic Rose Bowl Big Ten matchup for a team in USC that's first Big Ten game on the road, much like Stanford did. And much like Cal did against Florida State, which, again, another game I don't really want to talk about too much because Florida State's not good. They lucked up at home, and Cal just couldn't generate enough offense to win that football game. But Florida State's not going to be good, people. Let's not get that twisted. They were terrible in that game. Cal just played a little worse. So, they're going to have to find a way to get the job done. But, again, Cal really gave Florida State that win. But Michigan and USC, great game. You knew Michigan coming in was going to be able to run the football. Alex Orji running the football, running that scheme. He looked fine. They didn't throw the ball much, but you expected that. USC expected that. It was just could they stop it, and they couldn't. They had no answers for that style at times. Because when they forced him to throw it and had him third and long situations, whether it was due to penalty or the fact they just couldn't run it, that's when you knew USC had him. But the fumble back, that was probably the play of the game. That fumble that was gathered by USC after they had fumbled it, the fact that you steal it back from the lineman and get the ball back to where it's now first down, you just gave revitalization to the whole USC team. And then they come back the very next couple plays and score a touchdown. So that made it interesting. But that run by Mullins and pretty much his whole entire game, he was off, or he went off. And Donovan Edwards had his touchdown run, so he still has that ability to go and make top tier bursts as a running back. But Mullins was the player of the game, of course. That spin move he had to continue that drive and to push himself down the field was amazing. And then, of course, the run into the end zone on 4th down with the game on the line. They do what they've been doing all game, and that's run the football. So, again, if you're USC, you're fine. Still a top 20 team. No need to panic. You played another hardcore, hard-nosed football game just like you did against LSU. No need to panic. You've got Penn State at home, and I believe you have Notre Dame at home. So, again, your dreams are not over. This defense is a lot better than people thought, and their offense is good. It's okay. So they're just a good football team. They just lost to a team that was not going to be deterred at home in the Big House. So USC will be just fine. Like I said, plenty of big matchups coming with their only loss so far in Big Ten play. But, again, Notre Dame, Penn State, 2 top 20 teams at home, at least for now. We're going to find out a lot. And that Penn State game, of course, is on October 12th. So you're seeing a theme here. So we'll find out, like I said, a lot about both those teams, Penn State and USC, coming up. Penn State took care of business against Kent State. Nothing to really talk about there. But like I said, if you're USC, you're fine. If you're Michigan, I said they had to win 2 out of the 3, not including the USC game, because their biggest games were Texas, Oregon, Ohio State. Then you had USC at home sandwiched in there. You have Oregon at home. You have to go to Ohio State. You have Minnesota at home this week. Should take care of business against Minnesota. They're now all the way up to 12th. You take care of Minnesota. You get Oregon in a cup, I believe, next month, if I'm not mistaken. And you have to take care of business there as well. So we'll see, again, much like I keep saying, how good this team is going to continue to be when they can't pass the football. And not that they have ever really passed it that much, but when their defense is playing that dominant as they did against USC, they gave Miller Moss everything he wanted and more. Can you do that against Ohio State? Yeah, because we don't really know much about this defense of Ohio State because they haven't really played anybody. So can they push around and get to Will Howard? Yeah, because we've seen them do it against Stroud and Fields and other guys. So, and again, another 3-game winning streak against Ohio State, one against the young coach of Michigan and Sharon Moore, who did it last year, leading the team with what? Rushing the football. So can they go to Ohio State and do it again? Yeah. And I'm much more encouraged now that they can do it more than I was after the Texas game. So you get Oregon at home, a game you could still win. Every other game on their schedule they can take care of, including a home game against Oregon. You do that. And again, that Michigan-Ohio State game could really determine who goes to the Big Ten championship because Oregon has to play Ohio State on the road, and then you get Michigan as well. So, again, that game could very well determine who goes to the Big Ten championship and who's sitting at home, praying that they're still in the top 12. But, again, that's got to be a real confidence booster. These guys are rallying around Sharon Moore, and they are buckling their chin straps and saying, we're going to go play Big Ten football. That defense showed up in a big way, and their offense just bullied USC on the line play, and their running backs did what they always do. And Alex Horgy played competent football. So, again, don't turn the ball over. Offense and defensive line attacking the way that they did, they can very much beat Oregon. Very much so attack that offensive line of Oregon, that suspect for the most part, and force them into long passing situations. And then their offense against that Oregon defense that has been susceptible, at least at this point, to big plays, that's the worst kind of game that Oregon wants to play. So, again, you start to look at these games, even though you got Oregon and Ohio State, I'm telling you now, if they play the way that they want to play, if they play this version, they can beat both those teams and be right back in the Big Ten championship game, locking up a top spot in the playoff. So, again, very encouraging if you're a Michigan fan after what they were able to do against USC. So, congratulations to the Wolverines. And I did have them beating USC because I just thought they'd be able to have their way, and they did. But classic football game on CBS. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Utah at Oklahoma State. I picked Utah to win this game because I thought Cam Rising was playing. He didn't play, and they still won. So, Utah to me is a better team. Oklahoma State, they're going to be fine. They always are. But they lose a game or two early, and they come back and they go on a run. So expect to see that from Mike Gundy's team. They're going to play a lot better. But Ollie Gordon just hasn't played well, and maybe that has to do with his line not being as good as it was last year. But he hasn't had that pop. And their defense is really good, obviously. It's not like they let Utah go all up and down the field. But this Wilson kid, this freshman quarterback, Zach Wilson's brother, he managed the offense well. I mean, you've got Brent Keithy and Michael Bernard as your receiver and running back. I mean, you're in good hands. So, again, he looks talented. He can distribute the ball to the guys that he needs to. And Michael Bernard, again, one of the best running backs in the country, or one of the most underrated running backs in the country. That offensive and defensive line is where it all starts at. And we know their defense is going to travel on the road, and that's what I said before. Their offense surprised me that they scored that many points. But, again, Brent Keithy, Michael Bernard, two of the best players in the country. Freshman quarterback with those two weapons. Kyle Whittingham is going to put them in a position to win. So, again, we expected Utah to be here, and they are. So, again, we'll see how it goes forward, whether Cam Rising is able to play or not. But, man, even without Cam Rising, with a young freshman quarterback who was poised and didn't make too many mistakes,
Utah's going to be in a dogfight because you got other teams that are going to be in a dogfight as well. So, including Oklahoma State. So, we'll see how they have how Oklahoma State bounces back. But again, key road win for Utah. They look like the team that a lot of people thought they would look like. They thought they would have Cam Rising, of course, but they said it doesn't matter. The last two games, rivalry game against Utah State on the road, and then you go on the road and play Oklahoma State. Two road games. They take care of business the way good teams are supposed to, even without their star quarterback. So, great job by Utah getting the job done. But again, great classic games all weekend. I expect more. Again, this October 12th weekend I'm going to actually do just a separate video just on that. I'm not going to pick the games until the time comes, but I definitely want to do a video on that, just talking about the possibility of the games, where they are now and where they could be coming up in a couple weeks. So thank you guys for tuning in to these two parts of this college football reaction. I will have an NFL reaction coming up by the end of the day today, and we will see what happens. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will talk with you later.